Welcome to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Hey, that's me. Hi, and welcome to Positive Talk. Our show features the best positive stories and people from around the globe as we endeavor to answer the universal question of why am I here and what is my purpose? Understanding that can change everything, and knowing your greatness is fundamental to living your best life. So join us right now as together we work to create the adventure of our lifetime. And welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Kevin McDonald, and you're listening to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. I have a wonderful show for you today, and I'm actually going to step aside because I know very little about what we're going to be talking about today, but the two people that we have on know everything about it. So first, I'm going to introduce Dana Parker. She's my co-host today, and I get her whenever I can, which isn't often enough, I'm afraid.
Thanks,
Dana,
Kevin.
how are you?
Doing so good. Loving life. I'm so excited about today. I always love talking to people, so I'm really excited to be here.
Well, and you brought this person with you.
Yes, that's true.
So you know her. Tell us a little bit about her.
Yeah, so Brianna and I met last year. It feels like, I don't know if anyone listening has ever experienced this, but there's certain people that you meet in your life or throughout your life that you're like, I just feel like my soul knows their soul. Like you just instantly feel comfortable. You instantly feel connected. And Brianna's one of those people for me. And so we met at a festival called Yin on Fire that happens in Cedar City. It's a really incredible festival here in Cedar City, Utah that we love. She's one of the co-founders of that. And we just have been great friends since, and we started synergizing and talking, and she's been teaching me some incredible things. And I wanted to bring her on because I feel like she is in complete alignment with what this show's about. Knowing yourself and bringing more positivity into your life and really owning your greatness. So Brianna Anderson, she's actually an enthusiast for human behavior, human potential, and the art of following your heart. Brianna has spent more than a decade in sales, learning the patterns that hold people back from really saying yes to their most authentic passions, dreams, and desires. Brianna believes that people don't find human design, rather that when your soul is ready, it will find you. After experiencing perpetual pain and a roller coaster of events like getting divorced twice by the age of 25 and experiencing destructive darkness, the only question she could ask was, who am I? Human design would help her heal her love story, move homes, quit her 10-year corporate career, navigate death, travel the globe, and start a book. Co-produced Yin on Fire, which is that incredible festival we talked about, and help others finally love themselves. Brianna is a coach, a writer, a co-founder of Yin on Fire, and she stands by her brand, which is be you, be authentic, and believe. So welcome, Brianna. So excited to have you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really, truly honored to be on the show. I'm excited as well. So thank you.
Yay.
Well, you heard the opening, and apparently you are really in line with what the focus of the show has gone to, which is why are you really here, and why how can I serve? How can I be the type of person that I really choose to be? And it sounds like you've had life experience from a very young age, and you continue to experience it in a great way. And so welcome to the show. I'm going to kind of let Dana and you talk. And I understand that at one point during the show, I'm going to get naked in front of all of the world because you've got my chart. Not literally, but figuratively, because you've got my chart and you haven't seen it yet. So we're going to kind of explain it, and hopefully we can make this all work. So Dana, take it away.
Awesome. Okay. So Brianna, I think one of the first things that I'd love for you to share, because you're one of the most passionate teachers, and I could listen to you all day. I could listen to you talk about this all day long because there's so much passion. And I know that passion comes from life experience and really what this has done for you to pull you out of those hardships that you've been through. And so I would love for you to share a little bit of your story and what brought you to this point. What brought you to Gene Keys and Human Design?
I love that. So, to answer such a large question very simply, it was through an unwillingness to go through the darkness any longer. That's the truth. Unwilling. I was unwilling to go through life sleepwalking because I had always said I wanted this vibrant life. I wanted to serve humanity. I had already had the desire to be in service to my fellow men. But without having direction, it led me into really dark territories because I could understand human behavior and why people do the things they do. So it was a simple request and saying, God, show me who I am. And when I say request, it was more like a command. It wasn't an option and it was non-negotiable. It was, I'm done and I demand to know who I am and I demand to know why this pattern keeps perpetuating itself. So lo and behold, I made some radical decisions, went to Bali and decided to give myself enough space and time to really detach from all that I had known to put myself in a place where I could be open so that I could receive some really divine answers. And human design found me. In fact, it had showed up 3 different times in my world. And it was that thing where people first hear it and they're like, oh yeah, it's a personality test, or oh yeah, maybe like cool. It's just another thing until they realize that that thing is themselves. And then they get more curious, right? So after ignoring the signs 2 or 3 times, I finally decided, okay, there's some truth to this because I asked God, show me who I am. And this is the thing that showed up right after that. So
I love that.
yeah.
Yeah. And why do you think that was one of your first questions as you were navigating and trying to really pull yourself out of this dark night of the soul, if you will?
Yeah.
Why do you think that question?
Great question. And I think the first thing that comes to mind is nothing was working. And the question, who am I? It was actually fueled by anger. So anger actually fueled the who am I? It was anger that was birthed in a deep rage because it was the awareness of I'm doing everything right. I'm doing everything society has taught me to be, do, and have, and I'm still miserable. I'm doing everything I've been taught from religion to society to parents to whatever structure. And it was anger of I'm a good person. My intentions are pure and I'm doing everything right. So it was like a lockdown. It was like this anger that had to break the cage because the shit that I thought I knew wasn't getting me where I wanted to go. And so to answer that question, who am I? I think that was also fueled by anger too, because we hear so many places how we can be limitless and the world is ours. And if we just dream the dream, and those hype verbiages weren't working, but I believed them at the same time. I knew I was here to do something big, but my track record and the identification with pain was bigger than what I could see beyond the pain, beyond the experience.
That's so beautifully said.
It's amazing to me. It seems like everybody at one point or another that is endeavoring to do life right. We're told when we're little that this is how you do it and this is
Right.
what you're supposed to do, and you're supposed to go to school and then go to college and then get a job and you then have kids and your life is going to be just rosy, and then it doesn't happen that way. And it's like, what does one of my favorite authors of all time, he said, this is Neil Donald Walsh, and he said at the very beginning of Conversations with God, he had that same conversation. He said, what does it take to make life work? Just tell me. I don't know. And God responded, so do you really want to know, or are you just venting? And he said, I really want to know. And that became Conversations with God 1, 2, and 3. So, but that happens to all of us. And it happened to you. It happened to me. It happened to Dana too.
Yeah. And I think it's such a relatable thing in so many ways, because we grow up and we have these authority figures in our life that are like, just do life this way. And by authority figures, I don't just mean your parents or your aunt, your uncle, whoever raised you, the people around you, but culture, society that says you do these things and you will be successful and happy. Follow this path. And I think it's so brilliantly set up to bring failure, like to be like, oh, because you arrive at that point and then you're like, oh, wait, but I'm not actually internally soul satisfying happy. I'm not. Right. So then what is it? And I think that it's so brilliant that your soul went to, then who am I? Because I think you and I both really agree and believe that is foundational
Yes.
to all wisdom in your life.
Yes.
That is foundational. Knowing who you are, you know, Aristotle said it best, know yourself. It's the beginning of all wisdom, right?
Yep.
It's so valuable and so important because then you know your boundaries. You know where to invest your energy. You know what to say yes to, what to say no to. You know where to guide your life because you know yourself. And I think you and I have been on a journey, both of us
Yes.
independently, to know ourselves because we knew that. Our souls knew that.
Yes.
And now we're on a mission then to help other people. So let's talk a little bit about how you help other people and what is Gene Keys in human design. You know what's so funny?
Yes.
Oftentimes when I tell people, have you heard of Gene Keys? They're like, Jankies? Like what? Like what? What is that? So let's talk a little bit about what it is, like foundationally, where it came from, a little bit of the background so people can understand what it actually is.
I love that. Yeah. So human design, I love this for this is such a beautiful system for both the mystic and the person that wants logic and science, because human design literally is a synthesis of spirituality and the sciences. What it's doing is it's bridging and compartmentalizing the different aspects of so many different esoteric knowledges. So there's the I Ching, there's the Kabbalah, there's the chakra system, there is epigenetics, there's the quantum field, there's astrology, right? So you're taking these many facets of esoteric knowledge that we've been left and quite frankly blessed to have still around. And it's actually synthesizing all of that data into a system. And the first thing I want to address on this show very clearly for someone who's getting into it and is new, it's not a personality test, because I firmly believe the personality is malleable. You can change your personality based on your awareness and who you're being that day. But at a quantum level, it's combining the mind, the body, and the soul into one system. And the idea is that once you are able to use your human design as a synthesis, as a system to navigate your life, it's literally the blueprint. It's the blueprint of what your soul is here to learn, and also the gifts that you're here to radically share with the world. And Dana, you know, I say this to you all the time, but my biggest passion comes from the belief that if we do not own our gifts, they become a projected expectation. So it's really fascinating because you are unique, and it's not a cliche write-off. It's a unique individual system that shows and exposes some parts of you that have been highly conditioned by the world around you, highly influenced by, you know, parents and society, and not in a negative way. But having that awareness allows us to then have choice. We don't really have choice if we're not exposed to the subconscious patterning. So by that, it also exposes what used to be hidden is now exposed. So human design is the system, and I say simply the system is you. We're just going to take lots of modalities and put them into one because there is truth in all things. You just need to see the synchronistic truth of what's being shown at a bigger picture. Gene keys is the aspect of the chart that deals directly with your DNA. So, you know how people say, oh, I'll never be like my mom and dad. It's like, yeah, right. You're carrying their DNA, you know? And so you do have a choice of how that gets expressed. So you're right. You don't have to express your behavior the same way as mom or dad. But I'm really passionate about that part of it as well, because Richard Rudd is the messenger of Gene Keys. He's created an entire download. And I love this because for the mystics out there, a lot of this information came through just being channeled and being given this information from a source they don't really have access to. The science comes into it because the information uses your date of birth, it uses your time of birth, and it uses your location of birth. So with the planetary movements, it will calculate where neutrinos actually imprinted your being. So just to make sure I don't lose those listening to this, because it can get complex. Really, really simply, the whole premise of human design is that your soul incarnated in your body 88 days before you got here. And when passing through space and time, those neutrinos are actually what's imprinted your chart. So when I look at Kevin's chart in a minute, I'll be able to be like, wow, do you know you have this gift or this gift? And it's all coming from the science of alignment.
I love that.
Yes.
It's pretty amazing the way you describe it. And
yeah.
And Dana, I got to tell you, it's great to have you here. By the way, if somebody wants to find out more about you, how do they get a hold of you, and what is your website that they can reference?
Are you talking to me or to
Yes,
Dana?
ma'am.
Sorry, I'm like, Dana, where do we find you, girlfriend? You know.
No,
So
Brianna.
so my website is Brie Marie, B-R-I, Marie, M-A-R-I-E, Anderson.com. So BrieMarieAnderson.com is my website. I also am very personal, so I really love just getting an email. I love to be as personal as I can. I don't do business the way that, quote, we should. I actually love to have as many conversations one-on-one as possible. So send me an email as well. That works. And that's just Brie Marie, BRIMARIE 0143 at gmail.com.
You are sensational, because, and you know, we're going to show my chart in a little bit. I think we're going to be able to get that done, and so that you can review it and to see what it actually says about me. But you know, I didn't really realize that you had taken all, or that the system takes a bit of this and a little bit of that, and it's kind of like a recipe. You need
Literally.
some flour, and you need some yogurt and some yeast, and you need, and to make the loaf, to make the bread.
Yes.
So
It's
really
almost like it's beautiful, because like I think a lot of people out there have heard of astrology. That's probably one of the most common
Astrology.
things out there. And a lot of people just know like their sun sign, their one sign. I'm a Pisces. I that is what I am. But what people don't understand is there's a whole, and I've heard people all the time be like, I don't relate with my sign. Like, no, that's not true for me. And it's because there's a whole spectrum. There's all these different elements that make us us. And to understand those things, and to I think read these things, the most brilliant part about Richard Rudd and the work of the human design is it brings it into a form that I feel like is understood by the masses, that you can read it and be like, okay, I definitely get elements of that. And I understand the gist of what this is saying. Now, there are really deep parts that are like, you got to take time to understand. And with that, this is like a lifelong study, you guys. It's not just something that like, oh, you do 1 hour and you get it all. No, this is like a over time, letting it sit in, understanding, observing yourself, seeing your patterns, letting things go, learning to embody the new parts of you. It's just, to me, it's like the funnest process ever. Like so enjoyable that it's like, because I'm a lifelong learner. I love learning. I love learning, and I love learning about me and all my things, because then I know how to speak about my boundaries. I know how to speak about my needs. I know how to speak about what I want. I know how to refuel properly. I know how to show up authentically in my business and in my personal life that I know is going to be so fulfilling because I've studied about me. And so, Brianna, I just want to hit on this one thing that you said that was so brilliant. And I want to bring it into like a real concrete example. Own your gifts or else they become projected expectations.
Yes.
Can you give us an example of what that might look like when you're not owning your gift and then it becomes a projected expectation?
Oh, for sure. I love that. Because I wanna piggyback what you said first, which is this is really fun. It's designed to be fun, and there are parts that are deep, but it's not wrong. It's just new. So I invite you to look at it like it's new. When you don't own who you are and what gifts are yours, then you believe that your partner, your spouse, your best friend, your coworkers need to be operating the way that you do. The perfect example that's already come up is when we have mentors and authority figures that say, well, I did this, you just do 1, 2, and 3. Then they hand you the template or their success formula, and it doesn't work. The reason it doesn't work is because that worked specifically for a unique individual who operated that one way. So there's a million ways to do something, not just one. And when you, for example, are in a relationship, the closest example I can give you in my personal life was having this patterning from childhood into my adult life of marriage, divorce, marriage, divorce, marriage, divorce. And it was back, forth, back, forth. And to really hone in on this gift that I have with change. I have a gift of literal change. It's the ability to be flexible and to navigate at the drop of a hat. Now, had I not known that, I would perceive those experiences as wrong because the world says that that is wrong, right? We can all agree that is wrong. You have failed by society's measure. But when you take out labels of failure and judgment, I see that my need for change is quite literally a need, but it's also a gift. So when I get bored, per se, I know that I need to go get into new endeavors. I need to go put myself in an environment that feels new. Now, if I put that one gift onto my partner and he's not constantly growing with me or seeking change as much as I am, I will project that need onto him and then become unsatiable. Basically, I won't be fulfilled in our relationship because I'm wanting new, while he might not even have that gift of change or constantly seeking it out. So it's taking radical ownership of what's already within us and taking ownership at all levels, the high spectrum and the low, and seeing that gift as an opportunity to see the behavior in which it wants to express, versus thinking that my partner is really boring or doesn't love change the way I do, right? Like, how many relationships fail because they didn't own up to what we thought we were getting out of the deal versus just being us, allowing them to be them, and then having that interdependence where we can share life together versus having someone show up the way that I show up and think and be and behave, if that makes any sense. So that's what I mean by owning it.
That makes a great deal of sense. It really does. But Dana, we need to take a real quick break. And
Yes.
When we come back, we're going to talk more with Brianna. I thank you, by the way, Dana, for bringing her here. She is remarkable. So stay right with us. You're listening to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. We'll be right back in 30 seconds. I promise, honest.
They have your eyes. They have your ears. They have your smile. Now all they need is a little more of your time. Make a difference in your child's life, because anyone can be a father. It takes time to be a dad.
And welcome back to Positive Talk, and we've got Brianna Anderson here and Dana Parker and oh yeah, me too. And anyway, we're having a really cool discussion, and I just love how this is unfolding, because it's unfolding the way it's supposed to, and you are just remarkable. You've been studying and studying and studying this so that you are really, really gifted at knowing it all, or are you still learning it?
I want to say what Dana said. Like, there's times where I'm like, holy cow, it's like, it's an ongoing process for sure. One of my gifts happens to be translation. So I can take a concept that the masses will discard and make it really tangible. So I'm always a learner. I'll never pretend to know it all. And if I don't know something, I'll tell you I don't know. But it is a system that requires probably a lifelong journey, to be honest with you. Just new awarenesses.
Yeah.
Oh, very cool. Dana, go ahead.
I love it. I was just thinking, while we did that commercial, on the things that you were saying and the liberation that can come when you know yourself and you know your significant other, or the people you love most in your life. And, you know, I was thinking of specific examples of like how I see this play out. And what's so fun is I'm actually dating somebody who is a very opposite. Like, I'm a 2-4 and I think he's a 5-1.
Yep.
And we see the world so differently and we experience things so differently. And there were times along the way that before I knew his human design and his gene keys, where I was like, oh, like, I don't like that, or that hurt, or, you know, and I would take personally some of his things. And now that I know his design and know so much more about him, it's actually shifted into, oh my gosh, look at him just being him. He's fully him. He doesn't know how to be any way else. Like, it's so not personal. And that's the funny thing, is oftentimes in our relationships, we can get in these habits of like, oh, he just does that to bug me, or she just does that to irritate me. But if we study about them, you can shift this and have a totally different experience. And he's even said to me, like, I've never in my life felt so adored and so safe.
Oh.
And I really do think it's because I really do attribute it to this work that I've done, understanding and accepting myself. And I want to bring it to just one more place, just to connect some dots here. Parenting.
Yes. Ooh,
Parenting,
yes.
parenting.
Yes.
to understand these things about your children, to understand their unique design is transformational.
Yes.
Because we create these cute, amazing human beings that we love, we then often can feel this pressure that they have to be a certain way because they're a reflection of us, of our efforts, of our work. And if we can let that go and we can know who they are in their unique design and then cultivate their greatness from that space, that is transformational for a human being.
Yeah.
To have a parent that knows who they are and can help cultivate and guide them to their unique way of expressing that is authentic and feels liberating to their soul.
Yes.
And you know, we've been told, I've heard this all the time, like, you don't get a guidebook for your children. And I think this is the closest thing you can get.
Absolutely.
A book for your children to know how to guide and encourage them. And they're still going to make their own decisions. Like, they deserve that freedom, I believe,
Yes.
with all my heart. But it's transformational for that relationship. And can you imagine a generation of individuals being raised in their most authentic, like knowing their most authentic version of them?
Yes.
That is world changing.
World changing.
You mentioned relationship changing. You know, my children, my 15-year-old said it best. He said, "Mom, I just feel like I can just be me when I'm at your house." I love hearing that.
Yes.
And the only reason why that's so is because I know him and I know me and I have permission to live me and he does too.
Yes.
And that's why. And it's so transformational. So I wanted to add that because what Brianna is saying, I'm experiencing in real time, real life.
Yes.
When your 15-year-old said that, I'll bet you cried.
Oh, it's one of those like really soul fulfilling moments because parenthood is probably one of the hardest things ever, especially because the culture that I grew up in, you get married young. I grew up as I was parenting.
Yeah.
And so there's lots of things I can look back on and be like, whoa, that I definitely would do that differently now. Definitely. And so to have some of those moments, that's a moment you just, as a parent, soak up. And it's one of those moments that kind of gets in there and breaks apart those self-doubts in parenting to be like, okay, I'm doing something. I'm doing something that's along the lines of good cultivation for them.
Yes, I agree.
So I love that. Okay. So do you mind if we bring up Kevin's charts?
Well, let's do this first. Let's go ahead and we'll take our station break just a titch early, and then we'll come back, and that'll give us lots of time to get into the chart and to see if I'm really what I'm supposed to be doing here, and it's probably being a garbage man or something.
Whatever.
We're talking with Brianna Anderson and Dana Parker. They are two extraordinary human beings, and I implore you to go to innerworldmovement.com and also Brianna's website, which again is
BrayMarieAnderson.com,
and talk to them and have your chart done. I've had both of mine done. I can't pronounce what they are, but they were like, it was like Dana was like speaking to me like how I wanted to understand myself a little bit better, and it really was remarkable. So and it turns out that I should be a garbage man. No, I'm not. I'm just kidding. So we're going to take our station break, and we're going to be right back. You're listening to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
A lifetime of savings can disappear overnight. Millions of dollars are stolen every day from unsuspecting older adults by family members, caregivers, and trusted professionals. If you suspect financial exploitation, call the Elder Care Locator at 1-800-677-1116 or go online to the National Adult Protective Services Association to be connected with help in your area.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. And, I got to tell you that I know that it's death to play commercials during the show and stuff, but these are really informative commercials, and they're designed to help people live life a little bit better, a little bit more authentically. And especially like elder abuse is, now that I'm an elder abuse is a thing. It is a real thing. And it needs to be something that we all look at. In any event, I want to thank everybody for being here. Brianna and Dana. Dana, let's go ahead and can you bring up my chart? Let's try and see.
Okay.
Now, what we're about to do, if you're just listening to this, is that there is a chart that's based upon your birth date, time, and location. Are you able to?
Yep.
There it is.
All right. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
So I have this. I have both charts for Kevin. And so we'll just, I think starting here with the human design would be really fun. And maybe just give us a brief introduction of like, okay, well, what are these different elements that maybe someone just starting would be valuable to look at?
Yeah, so I'll keep it really simple. Digestible is a great word. So what you're looking at is a body graph. So we're looking at Kevin's body essentially. Everything that we're looking at on a chart is what's happening internally. So the system is Kevin. What you're looking at when you see colors is definition. It's also what they say is defined. When there is definition or color inside of a chart, there is consistent energy. So Kevin's got a lot of consistent energy within his body. In fact, there's only one chakra that is open, which means he actually experiences the world around him. So where there is something that is white, it's also labeled as undefined. And that just means that he's going to experience the outside world coming in. So think about an empty cup. There's room for things to come in and be filtered from society, people, experiences, environment. Where with color, that means he's the one putting out energy. And the rest of us are experiencing that where we might have a white chakra. So what you're looking at is a body graph, and what you're looking at is his chakras. What you see here is a lot of different symbolisms. You're seeing a lot of numbers. The symbols on the left and the right-hand side are astrology. And then you've got the red side on the left where Dana was just hovering. That is the body's truth, but not necessarily the mind's truth. It's also his subconscious. So for any listeners out there who really want to flip their world upside down in a really positive way, go get into your unconscious world and make the things that have been hidden seen. Because by exposing them to be seen, you now have agency and you're not a victim to circumstances or behavior that was exposed to you.
Yeah, I like to say you can't change what you don't acknowledge.
Yes.
You just can't, and you won't.
Uh-huh.
And so acknowledging it, seeing it, and learning tools with Brianna and people like Brianna, there's so much value in that.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. So what you're looking at on the right-hand side then would be Kevin's personality. And all of these, I want to be clear, left or right side are the same numbers that you're seeing inside of the actual body graph. So it's really amazing. So the colors coordinate. Black would mean that black is the same on the body graph. Red is unconscious, and it's also what you see on the body graph. So it can be overwhelming to a newbie who's like, I don't know how to read that. But it's really simple. Once you start to see, oh, I'm a quantum being, it makes sense that it's all together. Do we know what Kevin's profile is? I don't see his profile numbers. It's usually on, there you go. And I wanted to piggyback off.
Is it this you're wanting to look at or what?
Oh, he's a 2-4, right? Is that, you just had it. Yeah, so he's a 2-4. Okay, so beautiful. So there's so much information we could go into, but for the sake of this podcast, I'd really like to know, should I just tell you some really fun things? Is there a direction you want to go, or is it just looking at it, the first things that I see?
You pick.
Okay. You're like, you tell
I
us.
would love somewhere in here, Brianna, for you to talk about these incredible channels he has.
Oh yeah, for
for
sure.
business. Yeah.
So a channel is when two gifts are connected to one another. So what you'll see is this channel. He's got quite a bit of channels. So a channel means there's a full energy circuit where one gift is in communication with another gift. So what Dana's hovering over is what's called a channel. And a channel is where if you will just spend most of your time and attention on the channel, you will actually notice that there's no room for burnout. So a lot of people who are low energy or who are struggling, they just don't know what their channels are or their gifts. And so they try to be something that they're not instead of just staying inside of the channel where essentially it's all downstream, right? So it's like, imagine being on a canoe and you're just floating. Like life is supposed to be easy, but we make it incredibly hard. So a couple of channels that Kevin has. Kevin, you have a beautiful channel up in the head to the ajna up here in the very top left center. You've got a very beautiful gift of abstraction. So this abstraction is actually really unique in its artistry. That means that when you're not working in your alone time, the way that your mind is processing is a lot of visuals. You probably get a lot of abstract visuals. You probably get a lot of ideas that are not tangible, but they're like in another reality. It's also the artist channel. So you have a lot of amazing gifts with artist abstraction. Anything that's not in a form already, you're a creator for unique things. Did you know that about yourself?
Well, I've been hoping that.
I love that. Okay.
Because I've created the one thing that struck me was you said that I don't give up easily, or not give
Yeah.
up, but that I'm focused and I will continue to do something.
Yes.
That's why I've got 1,100 podcasts in the last 4 years.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
I'm doing 5 or 6 of these a week. People think I'm nuts, but I do them because I really enjoy the interactions that I have with people, and this is what turns me on. So it's and so it drives the artist in me as well.
Oh, so can I connect? So this is next layer, but I know that you'll get it. So when I zoom out and look at a chart altogether, I don't just look at one individual channel. I look at all of them together, again, because it's a system. What is the full story telling us? So based on what I see in your chart, you've got an artist, a need to have abstraction up here. But if we come down to the green triangle and the brown, which is the throat, you actually have energy to consistently be talking all of the time. So you doing podcasting 24/7 would never burn you out because you have energy in your throat to articulate your ideas, to receive organized information, and then give it to the masses. So you're actually in perfect alignment there. And if we look at the next channel down here, 6 to 59, I'm gonna skip down, Dana. That one. Yes, that is the channel of intimacy. So you don't just care a lot about people. You are constantly bringing them into your space and making them feel like they have never been seen and heard at the levels they have been. So your intimacy pulls in new strangers, people, and sometimes even resources, but you have a beautiful ability to open someone up and get past their emotional defenses. So the way I see your podcasting is I see all 3 of those channels mixed with these channels up here. So we're going to go back to the throat really quick. Yep, this one down, the 2021 and the one you were on before. Yeah, that one. That channel is all about creating community growth. And so it makes sense that you're involving people on the podcast, because when you increase your resources, be it money, be it anything that helps us thrive in the economy, you're actually really driven to help other people have resources and money as well. And the more that you can shed your knowledge and your insight, the more you know that it will help raise all of us at once. So you're not driven just by money. You love that. We all love that. But you're driven by seeing other people grow, which also makes sense what your entire podcast, Positive Talk Radio, is all about. It's positive growth for all that listen. It's that engagement. So you've got all of your channels, which essentially are talking to one another. And that will be a place where if you will hone in, that is your zone of genius. What you're doing is actually really aligned, like to a T aligned. Dana, go ahead.
ask a question about that, because when I met Kevin, from the time I met Kevin till now, my growth, he was one of those people that consistently believed in me and behind the scenes was sharing his belief in me. And he was one of those people that helped me really stand on my feet and after a really hard time and really get moving. And my growth in my business and in who I am has really grown since meeting Kevin. And so I'm wondering if that's part of that channel too, is that those that connect with Kevin and have that opportunity to interact with him, it will bump them up. That energy just like bumps them to the next level.
Yeah. In fact, I'm going to tie this back to what I wanted to say in the beginning, because I think every listener needs to hear it. And I had never heard about the mission statement of Positive Talk Radio until today. I think it's so beautiful, but it's answering the question, what is my purpose? And the biggest shift in human design to any human that encounters it is that your purpose is who you be. It is not what you do. And that is a really radical, weird concept for especially the Western society. So when Kevin just bees himself, regardless if it's through a podcast or whatever, anyone that or anyone that interacts with Kevin is going to exponentially grow. So I want you to imagine a tree forest, and you've got all of these little baby trees. When Kevin comes into the forest, they're going to take root and they are going to astronomically grow. The reason I know that is because this channel is that big. So to answer your question, Dana, yes. And to really solidify the purpose of what we just discussed, it's who you be. So you don't have to try to be your human design. You literally are already it. We're just bringing awareness. So now that Kevin knows, holy crap, every day that I choose to wake up, it directly impacts everyone around me. Even if I choose to do nothing that day, it's not about productivity. It's about alignment. So that's the biggest shift.
You know, if I can tell you a real quick story.
Yes.
It has borne out to be really true. When I was a chicken salesman and I was on the road, my wife went to the elementary school for a Cub Scout meeting, and there were 3 returning kids from the troop. So it was almost dead. And so she said, we need a scoutmaster. And so she said, well, my husband can do that. And that was me. So she called me up and said, you're going to be the scoutmaster. And I said, you have any idea what that means? And they said, I'm in charge of everything. And I get, and then I get to talk to all of these people. And, I have to tell you that in 3 years time, we went from 3 returning kids to 75 children and over 200 parents. And the meetings were huge. Wow. Because people enjoyed coming to the normally PAC meetings are real boring and stuff, but we made them fun and exciting. And for whatever reason, and I don't know, apparently it's in my chart. People, when I'm in front of a room, people are instantly enthralled, I guess, with my mannerisms or how I talk or the jokes I make or whatever. So that just stands. I had, until this moment, I had not made that connection. I thought, well, I was just lucky, but that was by design.
That was your design. I got goosebumps when you were talking for a lot of reasons. You're becoming now aware, so it's not going to be a projected expectation like, why doesn't everyone else do this, right? But what I wanted to say also in your chart, what's really beautiful, you just started talking about how you were selling. Can I ask you how little you were when you started selling things? What's the first memory you have?
Okay. Actually, my first memories were when I did a monologue for Cub Scouts. And so it was called A Sparkler for Mother. And so I got on stage and did this whole thing about going to a store and getting a sparkler for Mother and this whole script. And nobody had ever seen anything like that before. And so selling is, I've been selling all my life, I guess.
I love that you answered it. So this last channel in your chart, the one that's crossing over to the left triangle, yep, that one. That left channel is actually all about teamwork and sales. So you're one of the best salespeople in the entire world. In fact, you don't even have to try to sell. You wouldn't even call it selling because it's so natural to you because you've been doing it your whole life. and you actually have a gift of teamwork. So I love that awareness as well, because when someone gets introduced, I love, you said in the beginning, I know nothing about this, not really, but it's great getting into just cracking the door open and seeing, what do you mean? I've done this my whole life. And it's like, yes, that's the point. You've been Kevin your whole life, but even more so, this gift of selling, this gift of articulation, this gift of helping communities grow. It's no small thing. In fact, you have a couple of beautiful gifts where I want to go to the top right one, if you would. Yeah. So you're actually, you might not be aware of this, and it's okay. Most people aren't when we start talking about their DNA and their genetics, but you have a gift of transfiguration. So in other words, you have a beautiful, huge gift of changing the past or doing things better than the way your ancestors did it. And that, I saw your mouth drop, so I'm going to let you digest that. So I want to know what came up for you when I said that. That felt really important to tell you.
Nobody in my family has done anything like what I'm doing. Everybody's followed the rules and did what they were supposed to do, and they ended up their lives not living the life that they wanted to live. And I have made it my mission to break that cycle and to live my life as authentically and as real as I can, and just to be who I am and to be around people that make me, it makes me happy. Even when I was a host at Denny's, you'll appreciate this. Years ago, I was I was a host at the Denny's that I was working at, and it was lunchtime, and we were kind of busy. And a guy came up to the counter to pay, and he said, this Denny's has a really unique flavor to it. It's kind of different than any other Denny's I've been in. And the waitress that was standing next to me, her name is Sylvia, she just pointed at me with her thumb and said, it's because of him, because of apparently I bring a energy that is unique.
Yep. Yeah, you absolutely do. That's transfiguration. Go ahead, Dana.
So I want to connect some dots for our listeners, those just listening. And I know you can't fully see the chart, so you're going to want to go on the YouTube channel and you can see what we're talking about and see these different areas that we're talking about and what it looks like. But I want to really connect something here that's happening and taking place, and the power of working with someone like Brianna, to understand your human design and your gene keys. What's happening right now is Brianna is highlighting natural things that are in Kevin, that throughout Kevin's life, he's discarded because it's what he naturally does, or naturally is it's just natural to him. It's not, there's not even any effort. And it's so funny. Our brains are trained to be like, if it takes a lot of effort and I worked really hard for this, then I can be proud of it. But that's not true. And what's happening when she highlights these different things, you notice Kevin, then his mind is instantly tracking through his life and looking at all of the ways that has been true. And what happens when someone does this is it creates a foundation of unshakable confidence that you have permission to own your gifts, that you have permission to own who you are. And when you own that, then you move more from that. Then you know, and this is the most beautiful thing about words and what Brianna does in this work, is it's an access to an energy within you, a truth within you. And when you gain access to that truth, and then you're moving your life through in that truth, in that new energy, like Kevin knows he's a natural salesperson. He knows he's here to transform the old programs. He knows he's a gatherer. He's a team player. He uplifts everyone he comes in contact with. He just up-leveled how he sees himself in his business now in a matter of moments.
Yep.
And I'm telling you the power, and I wanted to connect that for our listeners, because there's great power. If you are craving, how do I live more authentically? How do I move through this life in a soul fulfilling way? This is some of the greatest answers you can find for yourself. And you have your unique design too. And so if you're listening to this, reach out to Brianna and let's get you going with this. I get so excited.
It really is interesting and amazing, because I hadn't thought of those things in a long time. And the same thing happened when I was in the restaurant business and I was a general manager. Our team became extraordinarily tight and together and good because of the energy that we had as a group. But apparently I brought that with me. We need to take we need to take a quick break, and then we're going to get back into Brianna's information and Dana's information, because this is big. This is really is important. This isn't like, I see you going to be
No.
This is based upon your own DNA. And
Yes.
and
DNA.
we're going to take a 30 seconds, I promise, and we'll be right back.
Only 10% of us get enough daily exercise.
And that number is dropping.
Nearly 30% of us are overweight or obese.
As a result, we now have a shorter life expectancy than our parents.
But give us the right start in sports, and we'll never stop. Learn how at activeforlife.ca.
I just love that. Get some exercise, get out and have some fun, grab a ball and go play. You're listening to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, and we're talking with Brianna Anderson and Dana Parker. Brianna, I got to ask you, you're going to have to come back.
What's that?
You're going to have to come back and do another show with us, because
I would
we're
love
going to
to.
run out of time before we run out of material.
It's true. And I love talking. I got energy for that too.
Well, you are just remarkable, and you've been doing this. When did you start this?
Here's what's crazy. So back to my gift of change. When something shifts, it happens rapid. So I found this information only 2 years ago, and I've only ever stepped into the coaching a year ago. And I can tell you, since I've owned my gifts, it has leveraged my business. Like, it has leveraged it astronomically. And we didn't even get to talk about business, but I got a whole thing we could go into on why that matters. But I've been coaching it for a year, and I've only known this information for 2. But I live it, I be it, so that when I do teach it, it's like, it's real, because I'm actively doing it before I'm talking about it.
That's why we get along so well. That to me is integrity. And that is like one of the things that I feel like can often be missing in the spiritual personal development world.
Yep.
Is like consistently living it and doing it. I think that's why we get along so well, and I freaking love you so much, because we value that like incredibly as coaches and teachers.
Yes.
And Dana, I agree with you 100%. Integrity is integral to what we're doing. As a matter of fact, there was a guy, won't use his name, but he was, quote unquote, considered himself a spiritual master. And so I was putting a radio show together for him and with him, and we went down to and interviewed Marianne Williamson and Neil Donald Walsh and several other folks. And then we went to lunch, and we were sitting there, just he and I, and the waitress came up, and he was dismissive. He was rude. And I ended my association with him. I decided, sitting at that table, because if you don't have the integrity of being kind to somebody who's serving you, even if they're not doing it particularly well, then I want nothing to do with you. And so integrity to me means a lot. And so, and with Dana, I know it means a lot to her too. So you have that. So congratulations.
Thanks.
It is just awesome. So give us your information again.
Yes.
Okay.
How can someone contact you?
My website is briemarieanderson.com. And if you want to be personal, you could even send me an email at briemarie0143@gmail.com. And you can also find me on social media, the same thing on Instagram. It's just briemarieanderson.com. And those are the best places to go and find me and connect with me.
Yes.
And Dana, you're my coach, so I want you to get more business too, because I can tell you, Dana is the most heartfelt person that I know. And as a matter of fact, I had a dream about you that I can't go into here, but
Aw.
it was just you were it was all okay. It was like we were on the other side, that we
Mhm.
were in heaven and we were pals. We
Mhm.
were in the same soul group and we were friends and we could sit and have a long conversation for hours and hours and hours. And it was because that's how close I feel to you because of your energy. And that comes through in her chart, doesn't it, Brianna?
Oh, I was gonna say, if I can say anything about Dana, her main gift that the world gets just by being in her presence is graciousness. She is someone, if I used a different word, she understands things at a soul level, and she talks to you from that place, from your heart, not from your experience or your past or anything that's a wrong identity. She absolutely knows how to connect with another heart, and the heartfelt tears are she's one of the most genuine people in the world. So genuinity is a part of graciousness, and it's coming and coupled with compassion. And so what I love about her is she's got these really soft gifts, but they are so channeled with badass power. Like, to say she's not full of power is crazy. Like, she is an embodiment of what I would say is the divine feminine and masculine. She knows how to feel and stay grounded here, but also takes action to help get to where we're going, and to take massive action to make the change happen. So I really love her ability to live in this world and be of both worlds, really.
Wow.
And I gotta say now, do you know who oh, his name just escaped me. Anyway, the 5 love languages.
Yes.
There are several books out there that talk about the love languages and stuff. I submit that if you want to really find out about who you are, who you should be dating, who you should be marrying, and what would be better for your soul, you need to do this, because then you have an idea of who you are, and more importantly, who your partner is.
Yes.
And that can also be a deal breaker, can't it?
Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And your patterns. I think the ability to take full responsibility for your patterns and to know that they're your patterns and not to go into blame or even shame over those in a relationship is so empowering. It is something I am very passionate about, and in fact just ran a whole course on. So
Yeah.
I'm very passionate about that. And I think that is I just keep going back to, this is world-changing information
Life-changing.
in a personal world, but also our collective world. If people come into this world and they understand these foundational things about themselves and they live from that is world-changing right there.
Ooh, I love what you said. We didn't get a hit on synarchy, but synarchy is the idea that we all could actually have flow together. And when you play your role in the cosmic grid, then it allows other people to play their role. Because if you're busy being someone you're not, you're actually in someone else's role. And that's when we have confusion and chaos and all kinds of destruction, especially when countries are fighting with one another. But the idea of synarchy is that we are better when we're together. We just have to know what our role is. Then we know what our responsibility is. And then we can take ownership. But we can't take ownership if we don't know the role we're here to play.
Well, I can tell you the role that I'm here to play is to put you two together in more shows, because I just had the idea. I want to create a series.
I love that.
Yes.
Of several shows featuring you two talking about what we're talking about.
Yes.
Sadly, we have to leave, and we've run out of time, but we'll be back again. And Brianna Anderson has been our guest, and Dana Parker is my co-host with the mostest, and I really appreciate you guys. This went way too fast, and it was a lot of fun. But thank you both, and stay right where you are. I'll be right back. Hey, thanks for enjoying this episode all the way to the end. Please give us a like and subscribe to this channel. This has been a production of PositiveTalkRadio.net. Please visit our website, oddly named PositiveTalkRadio.net, for more details about us and our mission, which is to provide great positive programming designed to inspire us all. I'm Kevin McDonald, and I'm proud of these shows, and I truly hope that you'll like them and share them with friends and family. So on behalf of our entire team, remember, be kind to one another, because each other's